Yeah, Charles Burnick, the Burnick Companies, and thank you for sitting in front of the line of fire today. Appreciate that. We employ about 700 people in 9 different states. Minnesota is the highest taxed rate state that we do business in. And quite honestly, I feel that the short-term jobs creations that you talk about are not going to keep a long-term healthy environment to attract employers like ourselves. Can you give me a forecast into the future? What do you see to help keep businesses like us in this state?
Good question.
Very good.
But I'll speak about it. I see y'all rushing to
That'd be a nothing.
But I don't want to go too much into history, but from 1960 to 2000, Minnesota had the fastest increase in personal income or wages of any state in the country for that entire 40-year period. We went from a below average state in 1960 to I think 6 or 7, depending on which measure you use. All during that time we were in the top 10 in taxes. Since 2000 we've dropped out of the top 10 in taxes, and we are now seeing the result of not spending money on education. Our job creation has dropped below the national average. Our wages are no longer keeping up with the national average. And unless we address the problem, which is, again, creating the best workforce, I can tell you in the late 90s, the financial industry in the Twin Cities paid their backroom people 20% more than they did in Chicago or Cleveland or Des Moines. And the economists say the only reason that could happen is because they were 20% more efficient. And so I again say we have to have a workforce that is the best in the world. When we're not competing with Wisconsin anymore, we're competing with China and India.
Answer your question? Okay.
Does anybody else want to weigh in on that?
There are other policy areas. We did a big push this year on studying broadband in the state and identifying where we would have to go to become competitive, not only nationally but internationally. And we've set some goals for ourselves to be in the top 5 or top 10 nationally or internationally in terms of broadband speed and broadband penetration. And that will be a bill that will be coming forward in the near future, in this next session. And it also will bring jobs into greater Minnesota.
New age jobs? Okay. Any more questions? Let's move, if I can. Go ahead. Shift this a little bit. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was this policy thing. And every legislative session comes a policy question, and some group has got an idea, and we're going to go down that road. That's the nature of government. We're all here for a reason. But one of the issues that we're looking at this year is happening in Duluth, and that is that ambulance service, that the city would take it over. And what might end up eventually happening is they might do it if we change some laws called the primary service area, but it might affect some of the townships and outlying areas. What are your feelings on this issue? Is this something we should be tackling in this environment? Something the city should not be tackling?
Well, we can't have a separate ambulance service in Hermantown versus what we have in Duluth, or a separate one in Proctor, or a separate one in Lakewood Township, or Duluth Township. It has to be a united system, and that's what the state law says. The question is, who runs that system?
Right.
And do they do a good job? But we can't just do it within the city of Duluth, and I don't think we should. We have to, let's face it, the economy of Hermantown is dependent on the city of Duluth.
Right.
They're just part of our area, and it makes sense to have a single ambulance service to treat this particular part of the state.
I think initially when the idea arose, it was with the idea of trying to help the fire department to pay for itself, and to become more productive, and it sounded like a good idea, something to explore. But certainly we've encountered many more problems as we've looked at the idea, the impact on the hospitals, on the townships, on the communities, and so there would have to be extensive reworking of the system in order for a change in what we're doing now to work, I think.
You think that's possible? I mean,
Well, I mean, if you look at the primary service area as it's drawn now, and if you were to remove Duluth, you're not left with a workable business model. No one's going to service that area because there's no profitability there. I mean, you have to have, as Tom was alluding to, you have to have, I think, that entire service area as it was drawn, and I think that's the purpose of doing it that way. So, you know, as far as any policy initiatives, I think first of all, given the scope of the budget situation, I don't foresee huge policy initiatives. It's not what this year was meant for anyway. And now we have the budget layered on top of that. And I think secondly, I won't want to speak for the other members here, but I'm certainly going to wait and see what this task force does, then what the city council does, and then we'll see where to go with it. But I don't see it as a pressing issue.
but it seems overall that it's not something that we're going to tackle this year, unless there's a great case made by.
I think unlikely.
Okay.
But you have to have the preliminary studies going on, and everything is sickler. And this was the issue when I came into the legislature. Gold Cross wanted to come in, and
Yeah.
we had the other, and you had groups of people that were supporting one ambulance service versus another ambulance service, and it's certainly every 30 years or so, you probably should have a renewal of understanding of the costs and the delivery service and the efficiencies, and have the communities talking with each other.
Okay. Fair enough.
And that's what's happening.
Okay. So we're in the middle of the process, and it's a good process.
I don't know about if it's a good process, and I'm not making that judgment. It would seem to me that if it was a good process, there would be more of the stakeholders from outside of Duluth involved.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Wow, quiet group today.
Their blood is just starting to thaw out.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should shift one more little bit.
You made a noise.
I wanted to ask Chaz, because I'm sitting here thinking about it. When you say you do business in 9 states and you're the highest taxed in Minnesota, tell me that we're not the lowest profitability state. I mean, I don't want any more than that. Just say that you're having success here.